sit on just the edge. And we'll sit up nice and tall. Take a nice big breath in. And open mouth exhale. 2 more just like that. And then go ahead and just let the lips lightly touch. A little space between the teeth. Continue to breathe in and breathe out, nice and slow and deep and easy. And as you start to settle into the body, start to notice your own alignment. Oftentimes the first thing I notice is if I'm sort of hanging my skull down on my neck. I'm gonna bring a slight dip to the chin, just slight, to lengthen the skull up away from the shoulders. You may find yourself pitched forward a little bit or rounding back a little bit. Try to find the middle where shoulders line up directly over the hips. Requires both back muscles and front muscles to be slightly engaged, but hopefully nothing is sort of taking over and doing all the work. I'm going to spread the work around today. I'll take about 5 or 6 more breaths here. And then go ahead and interlace the fingers. We're just going to roll the wrists around in circles. Waking up the hands. Waking up the wrists, the forearms. Change direction. Got some popping and creaking noises. I'm sure some of you do as well. Release the fingers and just open and close the hands a few times. And then we're going to go ahead and clear our mat. And we'll come to hands and knees. Spread the fingers wide, index finger pointed forward. Knees are lined up under the hips, feet behind the knees. A couple of traditional cat-cows here. So as you inhale, reach the heart forward, shoulders slide down towards the hips, belly is lightly engaged. Exhale, go ahead and round the spine, tailbone reaching for the knees, crown of the head reaching for the space between the thumbs, pushing the floor away. Inhale, open the heart back up again. And exhale, round it. Just go back and forth. Inhaling and exhaling. more complete breaths. We'll meet back at a neutral spine. Start to draw some circles with those hips. Now the circles can be small and just sort of circle the knees, or the hips can come all the way back towards the heels, all the way forward towards the wrists. Totally up to you. Change direction. Notice where you may be feeling it. Maybe it's all in the hands and the wrists. Maybe it's in the hips. Maybe it's in the quads. We'll meet back at a neutral spine. Reach the right leg back behind you. Toes curl under on the mat. Press back the right heel. Still reach forward with the crown of the head. Pull in the belly. Pull in the ribs. And perhaps float that left knee off the floor. You can swing it from side to side if it's floating. You can make circles. You could leave the knee lifted and the foot down as kind of a halfway lift. One more breath here. Right knee or left knee plants again. Pressing firmly into the top of the left foot, float the right leg, just hip height. Get light in the left hand. Reach the left arm forward, thumb up. Push the floor away, really engage through the belly. One more breath. Bring that left hand down. Take the right leg off to the left, toes curl under on the floor. Look over that left shoulder. One more breath here. Float that right leg back again and knee down. Right arm reaches up towards the ceiling. Open the chest here. Really try and touch the ceiling. It's more about up. We don't want to go back. And then thread the right arm underneath the left. Head and shoulders are supported on something. Can be a blanket, can be a block, can be the floor. Left elbow stays nice and high. You may even want to come to fingertips. And then press that left hip back. Option to reach the left leg back, toes curl under, pressing back that heel. Maybe even floating that left leg, just hip height. Maybe you float that left hand. Maybe, feeling a little shaky, you can float that right foot. And sometimes we roll over. One more breath here. Release, back to tabletop. Left leg reaches back, toes curl under on the floor. Press back that left heel. Reach forward with the crown of the head. Option to float that right knee. You can move it around a little bit if you'd like. If it's a little too much, leave the right foot down and just the knee floating. You can make circles. Take another breath here. Right knee comes back down again. Press firmly into the top of the right foot. Float the left leg, just hip height. Fingertips on that right hand. Reach the right arm forward, thumb up. Push the floor away. Take another breath here. Right hand comes back down. Left foot off to the right, toes curl under on the floor, look over that right shoulder. Shift the hips just a little bit to the left. reach that left leg back again, knee down. Reach the left arm up towards the ceiling, open the chest. Exhale, thread the left arm underneath the right. Right elbow is nice and high. Right hip reaching back. Option to reach the right leg back, toes curl under on the floor. Option to float that right leg. Option to float that right arm. And then maybe that left foot floats. Take one more breath. Release. Back to tabletop. Walk the hands forward, one hand print. So now your hands are significantly in front of the shoulders. Curl the toes under. Leave the hips over the knees. Float the knees just an inch or two off the floor. 3 breaths. 2, 1. Bring the shoulders forward. Extend the legs. 3 breaths. 2, 1. Press the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. 3 breaths. 2, 1. We're going to bend the knees again and float them just an inch or two off the floor. 5 breaths. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the shoulders forward. Extend the legs. Plank. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Press the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the knees all the way down and wide. Big toes come to touch, hips to the heels. Pose of the child. Leave the arms out in front. Look up between the thumbs. Leave the elbows down on the floor. Bend the elbows. Elbows are shoulder distance. Bring the hands to touch, palms touch. Sink the hips back. Sink the heart down. Opening up those shoulders. Fingertips are pointed up towards the ceiling. Watch that your elbows don't go wide. Take another breath here. Release the hands. Curl the toes under. Walk the hands back towards the feet. Lift the knees, lift the hips, forward fold at the back of the mat. Soft knees. You can let arms dangle. You can grab opposite elbows. You can shift the weight around. I like to play a little bit with shifting the weight forward and back. Sway the hips, really whatever feels good to you. As much as this is about lengthening the hamstrings, it's also about getting a little release to that upper back. One more breath. Release the hands to the shins. Slide the hands up to just below the kneecaps. Leave the knees soft. Just straighten the elbows. So your heart is reaching for the front of the mat. Crown of the head is reaching forward. Tailbone is reaching up and back. Exhale, forward fold. Slide the hands up those shins, straighten the elbows, soften the knees. Lift the tailbone, shoulders back. Exhale, forward fold. One more time. Inhale, halfway lift. Shoulders back, heart forward. Long through the back of the neck. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release, walk yourself out to plank pose. Full expression of plank, so your heels are over your toes, head to the shoulders over the heels of your hands. If you're feeling some wrist compression, walk the hands forward a little bit. The chest is open, so we're broadening across the collarbones, but the belly is in, tailbone down. Rock forward, knees down, lift the gaze, shoulders back, come all the way down to your belly. Heels of the hands end up around the waist, thumbs are at your lower ribs. Press into the tops of the feet, elbows back. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Charge up those legs, inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Last one, inhale, lift, hold. Float the hands, press the feet down. Exhale, release. Press yourself up and back to downward facing dog. Index fingers pointed forward, creases of the elbows rotating towards the front of the room, shoulders are out of the ears. You can pedal this out a little bit. You can wag the tail, shake the head. Take another breath here. Separate the feet outer hip distance. Come up high on the tippy toes. Send both heels over to the left. So my right heel easily comes to the floor. Left, not so much, but it's just heading in that direction. Bend that left knee a little bit, sending the hips a little further to the left. Pick the hips back up again, come up on those tippy toes again, and send both heels over to the right. So now my right heel isn't quite down, my left is. Bend that right knee a little bit. One more breath. Lift those heels high again, straighten out the feet. Walk the hands back to meet the feet. Feet are still outer hip distance. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale all the way up, arms reach up overhead. Release the arms behind the back, interlace the fingers. Reach the knuckles away. Open the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Think about the heels of the hands, the wrists moving towards one another. If your elbows are locked, maybe bend them a little. If your elbows are really bent, maybe straighten them a little. Soften the knees and forward fold. Take another breath here. Release the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Walk yourself out to plank pose. Rock forward, knees down, lower all the way to your belly. Release the feet. They're still a little bit wide, so the big toes are pointing at the bottom corners of your mat. And then prop yourself up on your elbows. Sphinx pose. Elbows are shoulder distance. They can be in front of the shoulders. If you want to soften it a little bit, try not to let the shoulders come, or let the elbows come behind the shoulders. Wrists are in line with the elbows, so the forearms are parallel. Press firmly into the tops of the feet. Pull in the belly to support the lower back. Press the shoulders back. Press the heart forward. Turn, look over that right shoulder. Back through center. Turn, look over the left shoulder. Back to center. Press into both hands. Lift the elbows a little or a lot. Let the elbows come out to the side, lower all the way down. Stack one hand on top of the other. Rest the forehead on the hands. Bend the knees and wave the feet from side to side. Release the feet. Press yourself up and back to a traditional down dog. Take 2-3 breaths here. Reach the right leg up, back, open the hip to the side, bend the knee, flex the foot. So the hips are stacking, but we want to keep the shoulders level. So pick that left shoulder up. Send it a little further forward. Find some more length on the left side of the body. Straighten that right leg back out again. Step the right foot all the way up in between the hands. Right knee over ankle, hip in line with knee. That lets you know you've got a long enough stance. Then the left knee comes straight down. Walk yourself up that right leg. And arms reach up overhead. Tailbone down, belly in, ribs in. Keep your height so the pelvic floor is lifting up. You can bend a little deeper into that right knee if you'd like. One more breath. Exhale, release. Downward facing dog. Left leg up, back, open the hip to the side, bend the knee, flex the foot, right heel gets heavy, but then pick that right shoulder up. We want our shoulders squared off, but our hips stacked. Straighten that left leg back out again. Step the left foot through in between the hands. Doesn't matter how many steps it takes. Doesn't matter if you need to bring the right knee down first. We want to end up left knee over ankle and hip in line with knee. Right knee comes straight down. And inhale, arms up. Belly in, ribs in, tailbone down. So you may have to back off the bend in that left knee for a moment. Get that all squared off, and then you can maybe bend a little bit deeper. Pelvic floor lifting. One more breath. Exhale, release. Downward facing dog. Big breath in, look up between the thumbs. Exhale, both feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale all the way up, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Step the feet back, plank pose. Rock forward, knees down. Lower slow and controlled all the way to your belly. Arms come down by your sides. Palms up. Release the top of the feet to the floor. Press firmly into the tops of the feet, pull in the belly. Tailbone is now going to reach for your heels, creating a little more length in the lower back. Inhale, lift head, heart, shoulders, float the arms. Keep pulling the belly in. Reach the fingertips back. Exhale, release. Charge up the legs, inhale, lift. Lift the arms a little bit higher. Exhale, release. One more time, charge up the legs, pull in the belly. Inhale, lift. Let the hands start to move towards one another until the tips of the thumbs just lightly touch. We're not hooking them, they're just barely touching. One more breath. Exhale, release. Press yourself up and back, downward facing dog. Reach the right leg up and back. Step the right foot through. Left knee comes down. Inhale, arms up. Open the arms to a T. Twist to the right. Reach that right hand back, left hand forward. Belly is in. We're still lifting through the pelvic floor. Maybe you can bend that right knee a little bit deeper. Exhale, release. Hands come down around the right foot. We're going to wiggle that right foot forward a little bit so that the heel ends up about where the toes are. Grab your blocks. Roll up on that right heel. Flex the foot, spread the toes. So we wiggled that foot forward in hopes that our left hip would end up over the left knee. Make any adjustments you need to get there. And watch out for kind of that tendency to just sort of hang on the left hip. Keep the hips squared off to the front of the mat. Pull the right hip back, left hip forward. Reach your heart forward more than your nose down. Take one more breath. Rotate that right leg to the right. So the hip is going to kind of come down, but back. So it's as though you're going to drag that right heel back. One more breath. Toes turn back up again. Curl the back toes under. Plant the hands. Step back, downward facing dog. Left leg up and back. Step the left foot through. All the way up. Right knee comes down. Inhale, arms up. Open the arms to a T and twist to the left. Belly in, ribs in. Lifting the pelvic floor. And then maybe if you'd like, you can bend that left knee a little bit further forward. One more breath. Exhale, release. Hands come down around. Maybe shimmy that left foot forward a little bit till the heel is where the toes were. Grab your blocks and roll up on that left heel. So as you roll up on that heel, the hips are going to move back. You want to end up with right hip over right knee. Flex the foot, spread the toes. Reach the heart forward. Pull the hip back. That heel is your anchor. It doesn't move. The movement happens in the hip. Go ahead and rotate that left leg to the left. Try not to let the hips sway to the right too much. So, look down and double check. Right hip directly over that right knee. We've still got that left hip reaching back. One more breath. Whew. Exhale, release, toes come back up. Bend into that knee, plant the hands, and step back, downward facing dog. Big breath in, look up between the thumbs. Exhale, both feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale all the way up, arms reach up overhead. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Awkward thumb on top this time, so it'll feel a little less natural, just feel odd. Reach the knuckles away. You can separate the feet if you'd like, outer hip distance, or leave them directly underneath the hips. Soften the knees and forward fold. Soften one knee a little bit more, a little bit of a bend in one knee. Extend that leg again. Bend the other knee a little bit more, extend, and just go from side to side here. Notice where you're feeling it. Take one more breath. Softness in both knees, release the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, step back plank pose. Optional back bend flow, we will meet in downward facing dog. Reach the right leg up and back. Step the right foot through. This time we're going to leave the left knee lifted, so that length is even more important. Knee over ankle, hip in line with knee. If you find your right hip up and out to the side, your stance is probably a little too short. You want your shoulders at least hip height, if not higher. When you're ready, now you can use blocks here for a little halfway lift. You can place hands on that thigh if you'd like. But we're going to eventually meet with arms up overhead. Right hip back, left hip forward, strong through that back leg. One more breath. Exhale, release, extend that front leg, forward fold. Bend into that right knee again and inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Extend that right leg. Bend into that right knee. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Extend that right leg and hold. Right hip back, left hip forward. Think about pulling the right side of the groin back, reaching the heart forward. One more breath. Right knee is soft, it's not locked. Bend into that right knee. Leave the left hand under the left shoulder. Reach that right arm up. Now we're going to drop down onto the pinky toe side of that left foot. Take that right foot back over to the outside and lift the hips. So your right knee is bent. You can be even up on those right toes. Lift the hips. Wild thing. One more breath. Exhale, release. Downward facing dog. Left leg up and back. Step the left foot through. Knee over ankle, hip in line with knee, shoulders higher than hips. And again, you can use blocks, you can place hands on your thigh, and we're gonna meet with arms up overhead. Strong through that back leg. Belly in, ribs in, left hip back, right hip forward. One more breath here. Exhale, release, hands come down around. You can use blocks here if you'd like. Extend that left leg. Bend into that left knee, inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold and extend. Bend into that knee, arms up. Exhale, fold, extend, and hold. Heart reaching forward. Left side of the groin reaching back. Knee is soft. One more breath. Bend into that left knee, knee over ankle. Right hand under the right shoulder. Reach that left arm up. Enjoy the twist. And then we're gonna transition to wild things. So we're gonna drop that right heel. Left foot is gonna come back and over, landing behind us. On those toes, knee is bent. Lift the hips. Left arm alongside the ear. Take 2 more breaths here. Release. Downward facing dog. Look up between the thumbs. Exhale, both feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale all the way up, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release, plank pose. Optional back bend, flow again. We will meet in downward facing dog. Right leg up and back. Step the right foot through. One way or another, inhale, arms up. Extend the front leg, bring the arms down by your sides. Bend into that knee, reach arms up overhead. Extend the front leg, arms down by your sides. Bend the front knee, arms up overhead. One more time. Extend that leg, arms down by your sides. Come up high on the back heel. Bend into that knee, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, release. Downward facing dog. Left leg up and back. Step the left foot through. One way or another, we'll meet with arms up overhead, high lunge. Starting to move with our breath. Inhale, lift, arms release. Exhale, sink. Inhale, lift, arms release. Exhale, sink. Last one, inhale, lift. Arms come down. Exhale, arms up, hips down. Exhale, release. Step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale all the way up, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, heart center. arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Perhaps grab your blocks. Highest setting. You're going to step your left foot halfway back. How far back? Well, far enough back that you can have both heels on the floor and all 10 toes pointed forward. So I can have the heel down if I turn the foot out to the side a little further back, but I want those toes pointed forward, so I have to shorten the stance a little bit. Reach right hip back, left hip forward. Now we're going to start to take our hands back behind us. So maybe your blocks come with you, just to give you a little extra space. I would have those blocks on a level 2 or even a level 1 rather than a level 3, because we are going to shift a little weight into those hands. I'm actually going to leave my fingertips down on the floor pointed back. So I want to shift some weight into those hands, sort of push off of those hands, and then maybe I can bend that left knee, taking less and less weight in that left foot, and pull the heel up towards the hip. Take one more breath here. Release that left foot back down. Walk your hands forward. Soften into that right knee. Step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, heart center. So that first side is kind of like practice. We'll do it again on the left, and then we'll do it again on both sides. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. This kind of first round is where you figure out how much block you need, or fingertips can be on the floor. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Step your right foot about halfway back. All 10 toes pointed forward, both heels down. Heart reaches forward. Now if you're using those blocks, take them with you and try turning fingertips towards the back of the room, thumbs out. That might help with a little bit of that balance. So press into the fingertips. Keep the hips as far back as you can. Slowly taking less and less weight in that right foot, more and more weight in the hands, and then maybe float that right heel up towards the hip. Take another breath. Right foot comes back down. Set your blocks off to the side and step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Forward and down. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, heart center. So there's a lot going on in that pose. You've got hamstring extension. You gotta get deep into those hamstrings. You've also got some arm strength, and you've got balance, which turns on the fear factor. Know in your heart of hearts that if your balance starts to go wonky, that foot that's floating, you're gonna bring it back down. You're not just gonna collapse into a heap. Let's try it one more time on the right. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Left foot comes about halfway back. So we shift the weight back. Take your hands back, as far back as you can reach. Fingertips on the floor. Fingertips are pointed back. Then when you're ready, take more and more weight in those hands. Less and less weight in that left foot. And take that left heel up towards the hip. Take one more breath here. Let that left foot come back down. Come forward again. Inhale, Exhale, forward and down. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Last one. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward and down. Right foot comes about halfway back. Walk your hands back underneath you. Fingertips on the floor. And even bend into that right knee a little bit. And then when you're ready, more and more weight into the hands. Less and less weight into that right foot till the foot floats. One more breath. Let that right foot come back down. Walk yourself back up to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, heart center. Whew. I'm going to come down to the mat. I'm going to come down through Malasana, through a squat. If you have cranky knees, this may not be your pose. I like to have my heels outer hip distance, toes turned slightly out. And then this is not my best pose, or it's certainly not a completed pose for me, so still working on it. We'll see where we're at today. Heels stay down. Maybe you can lift the shoulders up a little bit more over the hips than I can. Take another breath. And then release. We're all going to meet lying on our back, knees bent. We're going to set ourselves up for bridge pose here. We've done a lot of deep folds into these hip creases, so let's open them up in the other direction. Heels are in line with the center of the hips. Shoulder blades walk towards one another and down towards the hips. So before I've even lifted anything, I've got a little bit of a back bend going. My shoulder blades are grounded. My tailbone is down on the floor. But in between, I've got a little bit of an arch. Elbows are tucked in close to your ribs. I like to leave the elbows bent to 90-degree angle. You can let the arms come down. What I like about the bent elbows is it really sort of reminds me to press the backs of the arms into the floor. So press those triceps down, press the outer shoulders down, pull in the belly, inhale, lift the hips. Keep those knees safe. So if you feel like there's very little weight in the heels, you probably need to walk the feet forward a little bit. If you feel like there's very little weight in the toes, you probably need to walk the heels back a little bit. We want equal weight distribution on the feet. Head stays neutral. We don't overly dip the chin. We don't overly lift it. We don't turn from right to left. Exhale, release. Now that we've established our alignment, we'll move with our breath. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Last one, inhale, lift. Lift a little bit higher. Exhale, release. Set hips down off center to the left. Open the arms to a T or goalpost. Someplace where you can have wrists, knuckles, and elbows all resting comfortably. Knees come in and over to the right. Left shoulder stays grounded. Everything else is up for grabs. Now this twist is going to feel different with your knees high versus your knees low. It's going to get at different points along the spine. So you find the shape that feels best to you. Bring the knees all the way back up. Set the hips off center to the right. Bring the knees in and over to the left. And this side may feel different than the other side. Maybe it's an easier twist. Maybe it's a more challenging twist. Modify as need be. Should be a place where you can rest. Soften the muscles in your face. Bring the knees all the way back up. If there is anything else your body needs before heading to Shavasana, go ahead and address that. Happy Baby is often a popular one. If you do go for a Happy Baby, try and press shoulders down, tailbone down. Eventually making your way to Shavasana, and that can take on lots of different shapes as well. We just want it symmetrical. So if your back is bothering you, have knees bent, feet wide, heels out, toes in, knees falling in. If your back is feeling okay, maybe you want to have legs extended, feet still wide, down towards the corners of your mat. Another option would be to have a little lift underneath the knees, or maybe even feet thrown over a couch or the bed or whatever. Elbows are far enough away from the ribs to get airflow into the armpits without being higher than the shoulders. You can have arms extended, palms up, or bend those elbows, fingertips resting lightly on the ribs or the belly, but try not to interlace the fingers. Once you get to your final shape, pick your head up for a moment. Look down the belly button. Just check the symmetry. And then as you lay the head back down, keep the length in the back of the neck. You can even have a little blanket underneath your head. That helps with that length in the back of the neck. And then breathe. Watching the body soften and release into the floor. Watching the breath come in and go out. When your mind eventually wanders off to the future or the past, once you notice, bring it back. Back to the body, back to the mat, back to your breath. Over and over and over again. Allow your breath to deepen. Bringing your awareness back to the room and back to your body. Wiggling fingers and toes. Wrists and ankles. Arms and legs. Eventually bending your knees. Rolling over to your right side, pausing there for a breath or two. Until you're ready to press yourself up to a comfortable seated position, eyes closed one more time. So I know I enjoy putting my to-do list down for an hour. Bouncing around of, what am I supposed to be doing right now? Can drive me a little nuts, as I'm sure it can you. It's nice to sink out of the head, into the body, into the breath. I'm hoping you paid attention to what your body needs, not just what it wants. And that takes practice. The world is constantly telling us what we should be doing. Unfortunately or fortunately, a lot of those suggestions are not a one-size-fits-all. So we have to be paying attention to our own body, our own needs, our need to rest, our need to move, and everything in between. Wishing you peace and joy and love and light. Om Shanti 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 He and Namaste.